If you're a CMO or a founder at a sales tech company, you have probably noticed something frustrating. You ask ChatGPT or Gemini or Perplexity for sales engagement tools or conversation intelligence platforms, and you see the same three or four names every single time: Apollo, Outreach, Gong. And the instinct most marketers have is, okay, these are the biggest brands, they have the biggest budgets. Of course, the AI recommends them. That explanation feels right, but it is wrong. Because here's the thing: if brand size and marketing budget explained it, companies like HubSpot, Salesforce would be dominating these recommendations. They are not. And in many queries, they don't even show up. So something else is happening. And when we actually went and looked at why companies like Apollo, Outreach, or Gong, what they are doing differently and why they are appearing, it was not what we expected. Let me quickly walk you through how we approached this because the methodology matters. We did not just go in with a list of companies and try to confirm what we already believed. We approached it the way a real buyer would. We ran a set of queries across ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, and Perplexity, things like best tools for outbound sales prospecting or software to analyze sales call or best platforms for RevOps to manage pipeline data. Covered both broad level discovery queries and specific buyer stage queries. And what we found was not what you would expect. Over 20 tools appeared across all queries, but the consistency gap was stark. Some tools showed up once and disappeared the moment the query changed. Others kept appearing across platforms, across every types, across everything. After running all these combinations, three names were consistently most cited: Apollo, Outreach, and Gong. The question then became, why these three? What are they doing that other 17 tools are not? Before I get into the specific things these companies are doing, I want to address something. The common advice you hear about AI visibility right now is things like add FAQs because LLM like questions and answer format. Make sure your schema markup is right and add bullet point summaries so that AI can digest your content better. Now, I'm not saying none of that matters, but here is the problem with making that your only strategy. All of those tactics are about helping AI crawlers better understand the content that already exists on your site. What they do not address is the most important question: does the AI even know you exist? Does it associate your brand with the specific problems your buyers have? Apollo and Outreach are not winning because their schema is better than yours. They are winning because they have built content that clearly connects the product to their real use case, comparison queries, and decision stage moments at scale. That is actual lever. Let me show you what that looks like in practice. So, the reason one is they have built educational libraries and not marketing sites. Most sales tech vendors have product page, a pricing page, maybe a blog. That's about it. Apollo, Outreach, and Gong have done something very different. They have built their websites into something that looks like a knowledge base rather than a marketing site. Apollo has what they call Apollo Academy. These are courses, playbooks, certifications, a complete outbound sales curriculum. Each topic has its own clearly structured page. Gong has their resource section with research reports, webinars, and their well known state of revenue AI report, content that revenue leaders are actively searching for and then gets updated regularly. Now, here is why this matters for AI visibility specifically. When someone asks an AI platform a question about sales prospecting or conversation intelligence, the AI just doesn't pull from the biggest brand. It pulls from the sources that most clearly and completely answers the question. A large, well-organized content library gives AI more entry points, more specific pages, more situation where your content is the right answer. That is what these companies have built. Reason 2: comparison pages at decision stage. Here is something most sales tech vendors completely ignore. At some point in every buying journey, the buyer stops asking, what is the best engagement platforms, and start asking questions like Outreach versus Salesloft or best alternatives to Gong. These are the highest intent queries in the entire funnel. And when buyer now asks those questions, they ask AI first before they ever talk to a salesperson. Outreach has a dedicated page for exactly this moment. Their Salesloft versus Outreach page makes a direct case for specific scenarios where Outreach wins. It's structured clearly enough that when a revenue leader asks a question, there's a direct answer the AI can actually cite. Apollo has taken it Even further, the Apollo versus Zoom info pages uses real data points and side-by-side comparisons rather than generic pros and cons. If you're not building these pages, other people are answering that question for you. Review sites, comparison blogs, G2, and those are the sources AI ends up citing. Reason 3, free tools and templates that do the work of hundreds of landing pages. Now, buyers do not only search for tools, they search for tactics. A VP of sales who eventually buys a sales engagement platform probably started by searching for cold email templates that gets replies or discovery calls script for SaaS. Apollo has a template hub covering cold email sequences, follow-up cadences, LinkedIn outreach playbook, AI research prompts. Now, these are the emails that are situation specific that is even difficult for AI to create. Let me put it this way. Each template has its own page around a specific scenario a sales rep might search for. And these templates are backed by real send data from billions of outreach emails across Apollo's user base, which is what makes them credible rather than generic. Outreach has taken this further with free interactive tools. They have a sales ROI calculator, a pipeline generation calculator, a churn risk quiz. Each one is built around a specific question a revenue leader is trying to answer at a high stake moment. What both companies have built is a large network of specific useful pages that each answers a different buyer question. The more of these pages they have, the more queries they show up, and the more often AI treats them as reliable source worth citing. So if your tool is not showing up in these recommendations, here is how I think about fixing it. There are 4 things worth focusing on. First, break your broad category pages into targeted use case pages. Buyers do not ask AI what is sales enablement or engagement platform. They ask which tools or what tools can help SDRs manage outreach sequences. What do RevOps team use to track pipeline health? Or I have a team of this much strength and I'm facing this and this problem. Can you give me some recommendations which tools can fix this problem for me? If your content does not match these queries, AI has no reason to bring you up. Compare like cover comparison and alternative intent. You need to build dedicated comparison pages. These could be blog articles, these could be pages, these could be any other thing on your own website. Your product versus your top 2 or 3 competitors, best alternatives to those competitors, and keep them updated. A comparison page that has not been touched in 2 years loses credibility fast with both buyers as well as AI. Third, build a knowledge base out of real questions your users are asking. Talk to your sales team about objections. Talk to your customer success teams about what new users ask in their first 90 days. Turn those questions into short, specific, and well structured content. I'm not talking about long form brand pieces. These are the specific answers to specific questions. Fourth, make your core product pages do more than describe features. AI is not trying to convert someone when it reads your product page. It is trying to understand what you do, who you are for, and when you are the right fit. If you have a page full of bullet features, it gives AI very little to work with. You need to write your product pages so that a buyer with no prior knowledge of your product would understand what problem you solve and why are you worth trying than your competitors, of course. The sales tech space has over a dozen categories, each with hundreds of tools. But when a revenue leader asks AI for recommendation, they see 3 or 4 names. The gap is not about product quality, it is about content infrastructure. Apollo, Outreach, and Gong, they are not winning because they have bigger budgets. They are winning because they have built content that AI can actually understand, navigate, and cite across educational content, comparison queries, and decision state moments. Now, if your tool is genuinely good and it's not showing up, that is a gap you need to see. Like, are you missing on any of the above pointers that we talked about? And the good news is most of your competitors, they are not thinking about this either. The entry points are still open.